What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of The Full View. It's Monday. You know what that means. The day after a big game at Anfield. The day after Manchester United drew and picked up a point at Anfield. Not that the media would know. Not the media would let you know, certainly. We're going to be getting into it. Oh, a bit of an echo. But I hope everyone's doing very good. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Big up to the Full View panel, as always. Big up to Coach Cam. Big up to KG, that comedian. Big up to Good Vibes John. Big up to Marcel. And big up to Kenny, rounding off the panel this evening. Get your thoughts in. Hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. This is going to be a lot of fun this evening because the thumbnail says the media hate us. The title says United rattle the media and rivals. I want to come to you first, KG, because we spoke on the phone earlier on today. And peek behind the curtain, I can be a bit of a stirrer, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I'll sometimes send things to KG that might get him a little bit fired up or whatever. And I was talking to KG and I was saying that, hey, KG, you've gone viral. Quite a few people who were in the studio yesterday have gone viral. Yeah. And you've gone viral for celebrating, even though earlier this season you were criticized for not celebrating enough. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's clear that people don't know what they're talking about. Don't know what they're doing. And we are hated. I was called out this same season. And we only, 12? I don't know how many games we're in the season right now. But for not celebrating hard enough, only for celebrating too much. So we need to, it's almost like the Goldilocks and the 7 bears. Wait, Goldilocks and the 3 bears? I can't remember the story. It's not 7 bears. It's 3. Goldilocks and the 3 bears. I'm thinking of Snow White and the 7 dwarfs, isn't it? There you go. I'm mixing storylines. Anyway, it's pretty much that situation, isn't it? Where they basically want like the best version of celebration. Not too much, not too excited, mute, basically. It's like celebration police. Control it. I've passed out in the celebration this season as well. Yeah. I remember what that was. Yeah, so it is what it is. Like, I think it's ridiculous, but we have to get to the main point of this. We have to get to where the toxicity and the poison is coming from. And what happens is people have set up to see Man United like fail. They've watched Man United ruin childhoods. A lot of childhoods have been ruined, and they want their get back. And unfortunately, you hear people like Gabby Agbonlahor saying names. Let's put a name on that, because he didn't want to put a name on what we did. He said, I saw some YouTubers celebrating a draw. Just say United View. It's fine. You know what I mean? You saw us celebrating a draw. Well, Gabby, listen, I didn't see you celebrating anything in your career, if I'm being honest. If I'm going to be fair. Like, if I'm going to be, this is it, because you're saying it's ridiculous. Well, let's talk about that time when you had 2 touches in a game. And one was the kickoff, and the other one was only God knows what that was. So then we have to call it out for what it is. Like, Gabriel Bonglahor, as, I don't know, like, what Aston Villa are doing right now, you never did. So we have to just, let's call it where it is, like, call it out, innit? End of the day, Man United got a good result at Aston Villa. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Got a good result at Liverpool. It is what it is. A lot of teams will go there, and let's say, for instance, if Arsenal go there and get a draw, they're going to say, wonderful draw, great for the title race. That's what they'll say, because it's still Anfield away. But I don't understand. It's like they're upset that we fought. They're upset that he said, you mentioned all these players and said they're good players. Why didn't we give it a go? Why do you want to watch us lose? What is that about? Because you want to write your articles. You want to... Anyway, it is what it is. We moved the needle, innit? We're the needle. We're the damn game. We're the whole thing.
There you go. Kenny, I'll come to you next. What did you make of yesterday? And what have you made to sort of the strange narrative that's been in the last sort of 24 hours of Manchester United parked the bus, played anti-football, and I guess should be embarrassed for getting a point away at Anfield? What did you make of all?
Me, I thought it was a fantastic result. All the pundits were all predicting. You saw it in the newspaper, on YouTube, wherever, on social media. We wasn't coming away with anything less than a 3-0 defeat yesterday. Everybody said it. Are you with me? But the hardcore fans and the people that's been around a long time understand that this is the biggest game in world football. And the biggest game in world football causes problems for players as well. And there was a lot of nervous players on both sides yesterday. A lot of nervous players. I thought the game itself was dire from a point of view of a spectacle. to think that, you know, it's been hyped all week, and it'll be this time next year, it'll be hyped all week again. And that's a disappointment for the pundits. It's a disappointment for the media or whatever. 7-0 sells newspapers. 0-0 drab draw doesn't. So what they all wanted and what they all hoped for didn't happen. It just didn't materialise right. And why that happened is we dug in as a football team. We dug in as a football team yesterday and played like a team. And it was absolutely irrelevant what that scoreline was for most Manchester United fans yesterday. Because we've been through the ups and downs in the last few months. Every time we think we've climbed the hill, we've come straight back down again. And if you look at the Bournemouth result, the Bayern Munich result, if we could have put 90% of the effort in against Bournemouth as what we put in yesterday, that Bournemouth want to beat us 3-0. Because I thought it was excellent. I thought young Coleman Maybu, you know, we're not in the place where we thought we'd want to be. We don't have Kane's, Bellingham and Rice's. We have Sabitzer's, Weghorst and Amrabat's. No, it's true, but it's just true. But the shining light for me yesterday was young Conor Maybu. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And if that lad continues as he's doing, then this time next year or whatever, he'll be over there. He'll be playing in the European Championships. He'll be playing at the side of Bellingham and Rice. So it's a massive plus. It shows yesterday if he can do that.
Sorry,
lad.
You think Gareth Southgate is going to bring him in?
Well, what he can't not do. If he continues in that vein of form and keeps playing, then I think he will do. I think he will do because it's frightening him going somewhere else. So I think, and it may just be that it takes him into the squad. But in that midfield for England, there's not many got the compose. If he can bring Calvin Phillips, if he can put Calvin Phillips on a plane and take him to a championship but doesn't play football, how can he not take Kobe Baby? And I think if that lad can continue in that same vein of form and it continues playing. And yesterday, that lad walked out at Anfield. There's no, you can talk about Galatasaray, you can talk about all the big grounds or whatever. But as a Manchester United player, listen to what Gary Neville tells you, there is no place like Anfield. It swallows you up. It swallowed Amrabat up. It swallowed Amrabat up yesterday. That lad was nervous for, the full game to me. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, it did good, it did bad or whatever, and he got through the game. But if you look at Kobe Manu, that was like a training day for him. I thought it was outstanding, young Manu. I thought it was outstanding. And that was the one big plus. And the press will say what they want. The press will say what they want. They will always hate us. They will always hate us because we're Manchester United. And you've already touched on it. We've ruined childhoods or whatever. We've ruined childhoods. And we're a long, long way from where we was 10, 15 years ago. We all know that. We accept that. And we know we've got a lot, a big hill to climb up. But we'll get there. We'll get there. It took Liverpool 30 years. It took them 30 years. They were in the doldrums for 30 years. I grew up like, Manchester United and Liverpool was awful when I was growing up. But Manchester United then were always the underdogs. But for Liverpool's dominated, for as much as they dominated, European football, there was one game of the year that they didn't look forward to, and that was coming to Old Trafford because of that rivalry. And that's what happened yesterday. There'll never be another 7-0 again.
Oh, I hope not. I certainly hope not. Cam, I'll come to you. Excellent job with the tactical view as always. You and Charlie breaking down the tactical masterclass from Erik ten Hag yesterday, which got the point. What have you made of the reaction today from like Virgil van Dijk? I saw Graham Souness having a go, shocker, on TalkSport, saying that it shows how far United have fallen, this, that, and the other. What did you make of it?
I loved every second of it, every last word. Honestly. I spent all afternoon watching that Van Dijk interview back and forward. It is brilliant. It's like the prime Mourinho days. It used to rattle everyone when he'd turn up at some big away game, put 11 men behind the ball, and no one got anything out of it. I thought Liverpool were terrible yesterday. And if you're going to look anywhere, as you said earlier yourself, Owen, if you're going to look anywhere, look inward, look at yourselves. The reason you didn't break that United team down isn't because, I mean, don't get me wrong, the tactics were great, defensive setup was great, all of that. But if they played a bit better, they probably would have broken us down. There were a few hairy moments as it was. If they played a bit better, if Klopp had maybe not gone with that inverted thing with Trent, they probably would have broken us down. So don't come around sort of complaining about the opposition. I know it's Christmas time, but what are they expecting? They're expecting us to feed them goals, feed them chances, give them every opportunity possible to try and win that game. I don't know what they're hoping for, what the media are hoping for. And the one thing, actually, I do have to give Jurgen Klopp a bit of credit for, is he said in the Sky interview to the Sky reporter, you overestimate your influence. Because Sky has spent, as Kenny said, all week building it up, going to do the same thing next year, same thing the year after. Actually, in reality, probably the players from either side didn't get too carried away. They weren't sort of thinking about the 7-0. It probably affected the crowd, and that's why it was so flat. But yeah, it was a great result. Can't complain. And as Kenny said, Kobbie Mainoo, what a player. I completely agree. I'd have him in the England squad, in the England team. I think if you're looking for somebody that knits Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham together, he's the perfect player. I think he can fit in that role in between them, let Rice sit deeper. He's sort of the playmaker. He reminds me, probably shouldn't say this, but it reminds me.
Thinking about it.
He reminds me a bit of Iniesta, to be honest, in the way he does certain things. I think it's obviously very early to be having these shouts, but he reminds me of that. And the one thing, the moment that summed up his performance and where he is yesterday was 8 minutes in. Everyone else at Anfield left that game.
Stop the press. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's crazy. Like, come on, guys. We do this over and over again. The guy's literally just started his career. I was literally gonna not say nothing, but we can't do this, man. We do this all the time let him just play his game and let's kind of work out who he's gonna be. Iniesta is a sensational, he's there. You know what I mean? There's certain times you can say he might have some traits that you might think are, but remind me of Iniesta, you're taking the piss.
KG, do you know who Amrabat reminds me of? Amrabat reminds me of you, but a little bit lighter. I know you played yesterday. Terrible.
But still,
Iniesta and KG in midfield.
But then it still takes away the point that, like, I've seen you play football as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
Oh God.
and you're not even on the pitch, mate. So I wouldn't even I didn't want to show you. I was being quiet. I was minding my business, but you did something ridiculous. I just had to call you out about it. You know what I mean? Like, you haven't got a left foot, you haven't got a right foot, you haven't got pace. I mean, I wasn't gonna do this at all, to be honest. And you can't drink. So it goes like there's levels to this thing. So you know, come on, Cam.
It wasn't good, is it?
And he knows.
Trust me, Cam. From experience, it's never a good idea to insult a stand-up comedian. It's never go well.
Yeah,
it will never go well. Well, that was a heck of a bounce back. Let's go to John. John, what did you make of the reaction today? And are Man United fans right? Maybe not celebrate, maybe it was too strong a word, a point, but be happy. A point at Anfield. Anyone would take that, right?
Absolutely. I don't know why the hell. I mean, we do know why the hell, because we ruined their childhoods. We were talking about it earlier on in the show. I've met Arsenal fans who told me that they genuinely used to cry when Man United used to spank them year after year. It literally hurt them. And look, I'm not sitting here saying that a 0-0 result is a good result, is a fantabulous result. But I am saying that it is a great result considering what the situation amounts to. Right now, Erik ten Hag has his backs against the wall. Everybody's gunning for him. Lasers all pointed up here. They're looking for him. They're looking for all of us. And all of a sudden, Liverpool, who've been flying, who've been dominating at home, can't even score one goal against this Man United side. Of course they're going to try and, come against us in this case. Allow it. Like Virgil van Dijk crying last night about how, they didn't want to win. You stupid. Y'all had 30-something shots on goal. You ain't even fucking put one in the back of the net. Miss me with that bullshit, dog. What the fuck are you talking about? God damn. Y'all get me tight. Sometimes my New York come out. Shit is crazy. You mad?
Man, this show this evening it's going places.
Also, let me just include one more thing. Keno was on Sky Sports talking with Daniel Sturgeon. Keno was just like, brother, allow me. Y'all had like one Premier League win in like 30 odd years. And he even asked the guy to fact check it. And Daniel Sturgeon is there obviously trying to protect his own Liverpool people, but it made zero sense. He's like, he's not being arrogant, but he's like, I love Sturgeon. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a fantastic fella. And I think he's got lots of positive energy, kind of similar to me, but like it made no sense. Nobody could make sense. Not even the referees could make sense. There was that show where the referee comes out on Sky Sports protecting the referees. Brother, what is he talking about? He was like, I can't speak because, if I speak, whatever. What the hell? Like, everybody's just chatting shit. It's just absolute rubbish everywhere.
Dermot Gallagher, yeah. So I'll give you a little insight. And the people watching about Dermot Gallagher, he's from near me, right? He used to ref games near where I'm from, yeah? And he's a disgrace to the region. I've said this several times. Dermot Gallagher is a disgrace to the region. Do you know where he is, right? And local villages, yeah, he's a disgrace to the villages is what he is. Because he has the nerve to go on Sky Sports today and then go about this yellow card thing with Diogo Dalot, go, I don't think it looks good. Whoa, Dermot. I'll tell you what doesn't look good from Michael Oliver's point of view is getting the throw-in wrong in the first place in the last minute. And then, fine, you want to book Dalot for having a go? Fine. Dissent, no problem with that. But he literally just booked him. No, actually, no, it's the 94th minute. I haven't made this about me yet. It's a whole game. It's been boring. I'm going to send a message. That's what it was. It was grandstanding. He decided to send a message and grandstand in the 94th minute. And as a United fan, that's seen us crumble at far less in the last 18 months, by the way. I started worrying because I thought, we're going to concede. I thought we're going to concede. There's an extra minute now. And then earlier on in the game, Darwin Núñez, elbow, kicked the ball away. Was it sarcastic clapping and nodding his head at the linesman? That's 4 yellow cards there. That's quadruple percent. But he doesn't have the nerve to send someone off in the 20th minute at Anfield. He'd rather do it to the opposition away player in the 94th minute to send a message. I thought it was a disgrace. And the worst thing is...
Owen, can I be real, though?
Go ahead.
I'm happy that we didn't get a player sent off. It would have worked. It would have worked against us. Honestly, like in terms of their play, if Darwin, I know what you mean, but I know that we wouldn't have been able to. We would have to change tactic. I seen Liverpool play with a man down versus was it Spurs, and they still looked like they had all the players on the pitch. We would have been forced
to. I don't want anyone to get sent off. I don't think anyone should get sent off in that situation. I think I understand like dissent and all that kind of stuff, but 94th minute, like what's the point? Like what is the point apart from sending a message? I thought it was just ridiculous. Marcel, what have you made of the reaction today when it comes to I guess over celebrating or saying that United park the bus, anti-football, all that kind of stuff?
I don't know. I don't think it's over celebrating. When you put into context the kind of team that we are and the place that we're in right now, you had to accept that we had to play the counter-attacking football and be very pragmatic and difficult to beat. I'm more interested in the fact that Ten Hag done that. Is that going to be his staple against the top 4 teams now? Is he going to continue trying to be pragmatic in this way and create a couple of chances? He in the presser, he was talking about ball regains and retaining the possession of the football in our half and getting it back and then making, a few passes and switching the play. So it looks like this is going to be a deliberate tactic against, the teams that are superior than us. You said it in the match reloaded. At the end of the day, this team is superior than us, and you have to be able to be pragmatic in that way. That's the only way you're going to be able to get some sort of, an opportunity to put your foot in the game and get an opportunity to score. I'm really, really interested now against the other top sides. Does he do this again? Because normally he goes gung-ho, tries to find a way or an avenue to win the game and score goals. And, we end up making mistakes or we can't carry out what he wants to do for longer periods, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes. That's where we start to crumble. But today it was a resolute team performance. And Liverpool would struggle against the low block. We showed them that Liverpool can't play against the low block. They're a transitional based team. So they work with spaces and against, making intricate passes in difficult areas, they failed to do it. A lot of their shots were from far and away from our goal. So I was very happy about the performance and interested that, Ten Hag was basically able to adapt. There was no turnovers. Turnovers is when it's in the opposition's half and you're committing 5 and 6 players, to go out into their half of the pitch and get the ball. That wasn't happening in this game. We was being very patient, you know, sitting in almost deeper than a low block / mid block, you know, 11, 10 players in our half. And then we were trying to be smart, clever, and make the right decisions. You know, Anthony wasn't doing that, and a couple other players weren't doing it, and it was breaking in certain areas. But you could see what we was trying to do, and I'm happy that Ten Hag was able to notice that and make the changes.
Let's get to a couple of super chats, and then we'll go back to KG again. Amanor says Erik ten Hag needs to explain why he disrespected Varan. We'll touch on that. We'll go back to Rafael Varan. Lil Yo-Yo says, call names out, Agbonla fraud, typical troll. It must be also stressed as well, because Flex did tell me this, that Agbonla had messaged Flex privately, I think before going on TalkSport or whatever, but basically saying the same thing, you know, you're a disgrace, blah, 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 for over-celebrating. And I think Flex responses, we'll see you on Boxing Day, which to be honest worries me, because I don't like it when Flex talks with any kind of chest. That really concerns me, especially specifically if there's like there's physical receipts there now. So that can... I don't like that being put out there into the world at all, but it is what it is. United View Scouts says, your boys returned. United View, from a scouting trip? Hopefully. Who do you recommend? Because for the longest time I was recommending Kim Min Jae before it's even popular. Joe C says, Cam is doing a madness comparing Kobe to Iniesta when Kobe is actually like Schweinsteiger. He even runs like Schweine as well. There you go. A madness is actually Bastian Schweinsteiger. David G says, why does Varan play left centre-back when Erik ten Hag says he doesn't like him there, but plays Evans right centre-back when he has a much better left foot? Can someone explain? One more super chat, and we'll come back to that, actually, because we've got a couple of super chats on it. And Matthew says, I'll keep saying, mainly reminds me of Clarence Seedorf. There's a lot of comparisons with Kobe mainly tonight. Pretty good company. Let's go back to this Varan one, actually, since people are asking about it. Cam, I'll start with you. Have you been surprised by what we've seen in the last couple of games where Ten Hag sort of for the longest time said, I don't like Maguire and Varan playing together. I don't think either can play at left centre-back. Then obviously he starts both of them against Bayern. Varan starts left centre-back. Yesterday he started obviously Varan and Evans. And I think again, Varan was left centre-back during the game. What do you make of all that? Is that a case of Eric being proved wrong? Is it just a case of Varan actually being, better than Eric thought? Or is there more to it, do you think? What have you made of all of that?
For me, I think there's got to be more to it, because I don't think Erik ten Hag's stupid. I think everyone knows Varan's the best defender we've got in the box in particular. And especially for some of the big games, you need to have your best defenders and your best players on the pitch. So I think there's something going on, whether it's the club wanting to get rid of Varan and raise a bit of cash in January, whether it's something behind the scenes, maybe trying to build up Varan slowly with either the Bayern game or this game in mind to have him back ready to play and hopefully not get injured so quickly again, or something else. I'm not sure. But I think the only reason I can think of, I can understand the Maguire playing on the right thing, because particularly if we're playing a higher line, he's expecting Maguire to be proactive and sort of press immediately as soon as any ball gets sort of lost in midfield. Maguire needs to be up there. I can see how he's better at doing that on the right side than on the left, just because of the way he turns and moves. But the whole Varan thing, I don't get it at all. I think the only reason I can think of for him playing on the left yesterday rather than the right, if there is a genuine issue with the angles, is that possibly Ten Hag felt that Luke Shaw might need more support against Salah cutting in. Because one thing that has historically been Luke Shaw's weakness is defending his inside shoulder, and Varan's very, very good on the cover. So I can think maybe that's a thing. But then you can also say the same problem with Dalot against Diaz. The only thing I could say, maybe Salah's a little bit more likely to score, but clutching at straws here. I don't really have a clue what Ten Hag's done that for or what's going on.
Yeah, KG, what do you make of all of that and his future as well?
That's why I was going to ask. I wanted to find out what everyone thinks on that, because it is the weirdest thing, man. I think I've been trying to clutch at straws and make excuses for the manager. Probably say, look, the team was in a bad shape and Varan kept getting injured. See, he's why he couldn't get any, there was no consistency in the back line at all. But then he's gone with Lindelof. He's gone with Johnny Evans. He's gone with Shaw before even using Varan. There must be some kind of, something must have gone on where, I don't know, but they kept it in-house. They done what every team's supposed to do. There's going to be fallouts and they fix it. We didn't see anything, but they handled it. He got back into the team. It is what it is now. Was that the wisest decision, leaving him out? I don't think so. But that's what Ten Hag has to, you live and die by those decisions, innit? Now he's put him back in. He's made him the left, He's made him the left centre back, which I still find really weird. But he said, "This is it. I'm gonna be." He's so stubborn, and it was the main thing when it must have had to be a fallout or something, is because he's tried Bruno everywhere. He's tried Amrabat at left back, and you're telling me a centre back can't literally go like like literally to the left of him and play in 90 minutes. It's insane.
And not just any centre-back as well. Someone that's got however many Champions Leagues, World Cups, and all of those honours too. Kenny, what have you made of Rafael Varane's week? Of course, came back in against Bayern, man of the match, many were saying. Yesterday, man of the match once again. Do you think he's proved Ten Hag wrong? And now stories about his contract. United probably going to extend it, trigger the option for an extra year. But what have you made of all of that this week?
I've never grasped it, because Rafael Varane is the most decorated centre-back in the world. And you can't argue with that. He's the most decorated centre-back in the world. And for last year, and since he's been at the club, we've put him high up there. We've put him right at the top of the tree because he's a Rolls Royce of a footballer. The only thing I can think of is that has caused any rift or whatever. If you remember at the beginning of the season, before the season started, Rafael Varane was the only professional footballer what came out publicly and criticised the amount of football that was being expected to play. And he did. He came out publicly and said it. So we just brushed that off. So do we not know what's going on behind the scenes? And is he the one that's complaining about Ten Hag's training methods and this, that, and the other? Because he has got great insight to what's gone on before. So has that caused a little bit of needle between them? And in Ten Hag getting his own back type of thing, it's put him to the bench. What made it worse, there is no other manager in world football would bench Rafael Varane for Johnny Evans. There is not. It does not make sense, but Ten Hag did. Now, he's got to a stage now where Ten Hag is fighting for his job. And if Ten Hag's fighting for his job, the first name on the team sheet is Rafael Varane, because he is a Rolls Royce footballer. He's world class. And it's proven it. As regards going forward, I think, and this is the concern that I have, and it's not just Varane, it's these other players on these big contracts. Casemiro's a classic example. November last year, the Glazers put the football club up for sale or asked for strategic options. At that time, Ten Hag was the man. He was the new Pep. He was the new Klopp. As football fans, we were 110% behind him, collective as the club. We was in 3 major trophies. We was flying in the league or whatever. You come and what you were doing as well, when they put it up for sale, we all got carried away and we're all talking about, oh, we're going to be buying this, we're going to be buying that, we're going to be buying the other. You've now come 12 months on. We're out of Europe. We've lost 28 million straight away. It's highly unlikely that we're not going to get any further up the ladder with regards to Europe for next season. So this new this new group of businessmen coming in are going to be saying, we valued this club at X and it's now valued at Y. And what we cannot do, we don't have the FFP background now to be able to go out and get the Varans and the Casemiros. So are they going to be looking at the likes of Varan? And does Varan know it? The conversation might have already been had with the likes of Casemiro, Varane, or whatever. These players that are of a certain age, that are on big contracts, are they the people that are going to be pushed out the door as soon as Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in? Because if we know for a fact we are losing a lot of money as a football club, we know we are. So Varane is a target, and it's a target for the wrong reason. It's a target for the wrong reason. The fans we want high quality, top world-class footballers. We ain't going to get it. And sadly for Varane, he's in a position of weakness from the point of view that he's probably one of the highest earners in the club, and he could easily go. And there has been issues. We know there have been issues because there's no way does Johnny Evans play over him. So something's gone on. Something has gone on. So I'm with regards to Varane and the others, Casemiro or whatever, and Eriksen could be another, even though he came in a free, was probably on a big contract because he didn't have to pay a transfer fee. I would expect a lot of changes in the next month or two, especially in January. I would.
Marcel, what have you made about Varan coming in the last couple of games? Of course, Maguire had his spot for a while, which initially had some resistance, but then he was playing well, so people said fair enough. But now that we've seen almost what we were missing, has it become quite obvious that Ten Hag was wrong on that one, or is he still right to have him slip out the side, do you think?
Depending on what it is, Owen. You know, if it's a disciplinary thing, I'm backing my manager every single step of the way. If it's something disciplinary and they've had and my manager's allowed to do that. He's allowed to put players out of the team if they're not acting in a professional way, or if they need to be disciplined for whatever reason. He's allowed to do that. So I'll back him in that regard. But I do agree with what KG and Kenny are saying on certain things, and I'm really interested to see what happens in the summer, because I think he still needs to be sold. I think he and if we could sell him in January maybe and get another player in that we can maybe grow and is more available, because alongside of his weakness being that he's a high earner, he's also very, very rarely available. You know, he's 70% of the games he will play within a season instead of 90. As a defender, you want that partnership strong.
Will that change though? Now,
I don't know.
We're one game a week. You know, previously it was like last season. It wasn't as if he was always
retired as well.
He was just. We had situations where we couldn't play him for certain games because we were like, oh, we've got to think of this game ahead or whatever. That's probably not going to be the case now because we've got a game a week. So could he actually have maybe one of the most sort of consistent runs in the team that he's had actually throughout his entire time being here?
That would be really good, and we've seen professionalism from him. You know, this game that's just gone, the Bayern Munich game, after a little disgruntlement between him and the manager, still coming out professional and giving 2 man of the match performances. But I would still say, even if it's a game a week, you're going to need a good leader like he is, and a proper player, top quality player. But at the end of the season, I'm putting him up for sale. You know, he's one of the players in the latter stages of their career, and I want somebody a bit more, younger, more robust that can play 80-90% of the games within a season. But
sorry, just something for us to think about as well, because someone posted this. I don't know how accurate these numbers are, but it's Man United's players' wages per week. You got Sancho on 350, Varan apparently on 340, Rashford 325, Casemiro 300, Marcel 250, Mount 250, Bruno 240, Anthony 200, Shaw 200, Maguire 189. You know, you got a player in. I don't know if this is accurate or nothing like that, but then if Varan is on that kind of money, is that something are we all comfortable with that? Do we think with what we can give us? What are we saying as just you lot in general?
Nah, that was a good. I appreciate you, because there's like 4 or 5 players in there, KG, that need to go. You know, Casemiro's part of that list. Martial's part of it. They want big money. We don't even know if Anthony deserves the wages that he's getting right now.
£1 million a week.
I don't want to say Rashford too early. I think I'm going to give him another season, because that purple patch might be coming. We don't know. And if it comes, then it's like that's 20 goals in the next however games leading up until the end of the season. And then the next season,
I'll just give him another season.
I know. I agree with you. That Rashford right now is a headache for all of Man United fans, because we want him to reach this potential, and we don't know whether it's ever going to come. But Ten Hag's thrown his hat on him. So it's like, this is your responsibility now, Ten Hag. If you've given him the new contract, this is your responsibility to get that 40 goal. Rashford is the one that said it, that he's a 40 goal season man. So he's got to get to that stage, and I'm going to give him.
As well as being shit at football, he's deluded, basically.
Well, who? Rashi's all right. I think he's all right, and he's useful. Ten Hag has shown us that he can put him in a system or in a position to score plenty of goals. He's shown us that within his principles, within Ten Hag's principles, with the turnovers, the transitions, Rashford can score goals. He's just in depression mode, Rashford. We've seen this under Ole. We saw it a little bit under Mourinho. Mourinho wanted more out of him, and now we're seeing it under Ten Hag. So is this a thing of his nature, and we need to sell him? Let's see what happens in time. But right now, we know that there's a purple patch Rashford in there somewhere. And we're not going to be able to sell him right now. You know, no one's coming in. KG said to me 60 million. I would be happy for 100, but that's not going to happen. So no one's going to pick him up for 60, I don't think, right now. Maybe PSG. But I think we just got to give Rashi a bit more time. But the rest of the players on that list, Maguire's still on there, 180. It's got to be sold. You know, Luke Shaw looks like he could become a decent left centre-back, so maybe you keep him along. But there's a lot of other players on there that you need young, hungry, better footballers in replace of these guys on astronomical wages, and they haven't won anything.
Cam, care to respond to all of that? I saw you wanted to jump in for the Varan part as well. You said he was worth 300 something K a week.
Yeah, I think it's very, very rare that you get a player that's genuinely world class, has been one of the best in the world in their position for a very long time. And I think with Varan as well, even if you have to manage his minutes, I don't think there's a single player in world football who I'd want to sort of nurture young players coming through more than Raphael Varan. I think everywhere he's been, he's never had a problem with any manager, always been professional, always been part of title-winning teams, Champions League winning teams, World Cup winning teams, always delivered in big moments. He can turn up out the cold and deliver in a game anytime pretty much, and he's going to put a pretty decent level of performance up. He's one of the best defenders of the penalty area in the world. If your team's in crisis and you need someone to sort of hold things together for you, he is that guy. And I think because of his skill set, he can play with pretty much anybody else. I agree that obviously we want someone else who's a bit younger coming through, who can play every game, and eventually they get phased in to replace Varan. But for now, I think Varan he's absolutely brilliant. I can't, on that list KG had, there's 4 or 5 players that KG mentioned that I'd get rid of miles before Raphael Varan. Honestly, Marcus Rashford would be maybe not top of the list. I think Sancho is just above him, but Rashford would be high up on that list, as would Casemiro. But Varan,
isn't it part of the? There's a little bit of a problem that I'm like, I do wish Man United address, and unfortunately, because Varan's coming to his, and I'd like to know what John's going to say on this, because some of these players are coming to the end of their contracts. Shouldn't Man United change their strategy and not keep these players on these big wages, because we're not getting true value for money in times when I think about it. There's no sell-on value. That the reason why we're in like heavy FFP is because we can't sell nothing. We can't sell a single player. You know what I mean? And we've been like this for so long. We might have to bite the bullet and say, you know, like instead of all these 300 and ridiculous contracts we're paying, it's got to go no. It's got to go low now. We have to have like a pay scale that represents what the club's actually doing. We pay the highest wages with the lowest output. We get nothing back from these players in terms of, we don't even know if we were all coming to today thinking it's going to be a hard full view because we're going to get 5-7-0. And those are the players that are all getting all the high wages. So we can't, it don't make no sense. So something's not adding up.
Yeah, John, what do you make of what KG said, and to be honest, what Cam and Marcel said about Varan and the contracts, etc.?
Well, I mean, we all sort of understand that Manchester United have been accumulating this consequence of bad decisions over the years. It's like, it's not like one problem and then you remediate said problem and then if it gets fixed. It's like 5 problems over an X amount of years, and that causes a brand new set of problems. And you repair 3 of them, and then 5 of them, you know what I'm saying? The maths ain't mathsing, but it's just at the end of the day, it's not at the snap of a finger you fix. But I do agree with KG in the sense that, you know, you just got to bite the bullet at one point and just say, you know what, we got to fix this now. And from here on out, we cannot do the same thing over and over again. I do hear KG in that sense, but at the same time, I think we also need to find where to draw this sort of damage control. You know what I mean? I think Cam said it spot on. I think Raphael Varan is one of the most perfect players there in terms of nurturing the young players. With all due respect to Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm not here to slander Cristiano Ronaldo, but when he came to Manchester United, man was going through a midlife crisis. He was trying to recognize himself. He was having an identity crisis of his own. And because of his issue, that fire spilled onto Manchester United, and it sort of left the squad in disarray. There were people having fights and people having problems with each other. And I mean, I'm not saying that that's what it is. I'm not trying to sound like I'm TMZ, but my point is that we were not healthy in its entirety as a squad. And right now, what we need is to try and create the sense of unity, togetherness, cohesion. And that also comes with seniority and veterans. You know what I mean? And Raphael Varan is that guy. I still believe Casemiro to be that guy. I'm going to be completely honest with you. You know, half a season of him just completely, a full season of him absolutely being one of the most important players for Manchester United in quite some time in terms of the transitional phase of things. And then all of a sudden, he just doesn't perform for 2-3 months. And then all of a sudden, everybody's like, all right, get his ass out of here. I think that's very unfair on people like Casemiro. I would see it out till the end of the season with the likes of Casemiro and Raphael Varan. Somebody said, like, that's $1 billion. I think it was Kenny that said that's £1 billion a week. Rafa, you could buy like 3 apartments here with £1 billion a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. But there are also players in that squad that are collecting hundreds of thousands of pounds a week that are completely underperforming, that have had beef with the manager and won't even play. You know what I mean? So there are other areas that we can look at. I think moving right now in the January transfer window is still too volatile. We've already made too many risky decisions. If you're at the casino for the first time in your life and you finally win a couple $100, Get the hell off the table. Go upstairs. You're gonna crap out. You know what I'm saying?
Run.
I think it's quite funny with the Varan situation because obviously I saw a thing written today by Samuel Lucker saying that Varan wants to stay and he hopes United trigger this option year because United had communicated that he was tied down to 2025. In reality, it's 2024 plus this extra year. And I thought to myself, well, of course he wants to stay. He's on 300k a week, like in the same way that Anthony Martial would hope to stay at Manchester United because they ain't getting that wage anywhere else. Like Rafael Varane is a tremendous player, but unless he goes Saudi, that's the only out. That's the only out now. Previously, you would have said no. But if you want to, I should probably better phrase it. If you want to stay in Europe and compete at the highest level of world football, you're not getting that wage anywhere else. And he knows he's got a good deal at Manchester United. And I think also it is a credit to Rafael Varane, everything that's been going on. If you were to look at a Jadon Sancho, you would turn to him and go, see, this is kind of how you deal with these situations. You agree to disagree with the manager. Eventually, because it's just how football works, injury, illness, form, whatever, you find your way back in the team and you play. And then if you play well, you keep your spot. He's got his spot back now, and given the schedule, he's probably going to continue that as well. Another super chat here. Then I do want to talk about something else as well. Sanjeet says, Cam calling someone deluded after saying Mado is basically Iniesta as well. The Iniesta comment, I feel like, is going to continue to follow you for a long, long time, certainly. I do want to talk about the next couple of games as well over this festive period, because one of the sort of sticks that we've been beat with today, as it were, is wow, you're over celebrating. I don't know what you're celebrating too much about because you're going to go to West Ham next weekend and you're probably going to lose, or you're going to play Villa on Boxing Day at home and you're probably going to lose. Are we still cagey in that kind of position where one bad result and suddenly we're back in crisis again? Has your expectation changed, for instance, for the game against West Ham this coming weekend because of what happened at Anfield, or are we still in the same place, do you think?
Is that to me or just to the total?
Yes.
All right, cool. I don't trust this team still. I won't lie to you. I'm waiting now. We've had the false dawns so many times. I think the team broke me in the Champions League. Bayern was a game. Galatasaray was a game. Was like, can they do it now? There was a game before, like Copenhagen was another game. Can these boys do it? Can they pull up their socks and put in a super performance? I think we're consistent. I say Haley said it best. We're consistently inconsistent. That's who we are. That's our thing this season. Now I'm hoping there's a part of me that hopes that we'll do something. One game a week. A part of me hopes that we're going to see something. But one thing I'm sure of is Ten Hag's got a love obsession with McTominay. He loves him. And you can't do this and get to the top. Personally, for me, I feel that he has to make a decision right now with McTominay. I get how much you're a great pro, you're a model professional. However, I need better players than you. I need players that really, want to be on the ball and will answer the ball in any moment in sticky situations. And that's just something that McTominay can't do. The harder thing is, how do you drop your top goal scorer? That's the question. I would hope if we go into the next game and we see a similar midfield, or I don't know if there's someone else better, because I know everyone has feels their way about Amrabat. So, pull him out, whoever you're saying in that midfield, but just copy with whoever, with Bruno. I want to see that. But we all know that after a good performance, Kobe's more likely to be dropped. Hannibal's been dropped after a good performance. Reguilon has been dropped after a good performance. So we've seen this before. It won't be something that should be strange. Wan-Bissaka's been dropped after a good performance. In comes Dalot. So it's hard to tell what the manager's thinking at times. But yeah.
I'm with KG on that. I'm 100% behind KG there, from the point of view that I'm looking at the next two games, West Ham and Villa, as draws. I wouldn't normally do that, but I am. Because Villa's flying, West Ham are on the up, and if we're being realistic, we're going to end up with two draws. Going back to where we was at Bournemouth or whatever, we'd take them. We would take them because we're not what we think we are, or what some people think we are. And as long as Scott McTominay gets in the team, then we've got an issue. And the issue is, of what fans have, is that we know, we've seen it before, young Kobe Mainoo, We all love the lad. All the pundits are raving about him, but he's easy to drop. It's easy to drop because he's an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, and I need to rest him. No, what you need to do is to rest Scott McTominay permanently. That's what you need to do. What you've got now coming back is you've got Christian Eriksen back in training. So what are we going to see Christian Eriksen at the side of Amrabat? Or are we going to see Christian Eriksen at the side of Kobe Mainoo? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? But I don't think we may not do because he's not defensive enough. I take it. But now there is Scott McTominay.
Do you want to see? Wait, do you want to see Eriksen and Amrabat in that midfield though? Because bloody hell, like in terms of pace wise.
No, I'm not moving Mainoo from anywhere. That he's going on that name. But, you know, try other people with him, but leave that young lad there. He's there. He's proved himself. He's not put a foot wrong. He's not put a foot wrong in 2 or 3 games. Amrabat, and I'm not being disrespectful to Amrabat. Amrabat looked as though he'd come out the 2nd division at Anfield. He couldn't control the ball. It looked as though the game was being bypassed, and it was only his tenacity and his energy that got him through the game. It certainly wasn't anything technical, and you know, and I'm not disrespecting the guy, but I saw nothing technical there from Amrabat. But he had the endeavour and the hard work, and he put a shift in. McTominay again was missing. You know what's going to happen at weekend. Bruno's coming back. Somebody's got to make way for Bruno. Probably be young Kobe Mainoo, sadly. And I don't think if we're going to draw at West Ham, I'll be happy with the draw because West Ham's not a bad team. West Ham's not a bad team.
Definitely. I mean, KG though, I mean, I can see the look on your face because I've had a couple conversations with you today, and you said it to Flex as well. You've been defending Amrabat and all that kind of stuff, saying it's too soon to judge and all that kind of stuff. Do you care to have a retort? No,
because I feel like maybe I'm so locked into this player. I'm happy to accept new information. I think that it's just a bit. I feel like we're being harsh.
You flip flopping.
No, I like. I'm gonna wait, but everyone's saying the same thing. You gotta say, well, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Now I'm happy to do that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Everyone's saying the same thing, but I still think that there's a good player there. I think we're being quick and early to judge this player when it's a different people. Cause last season, everyone wanted this season, the beginning of the season, people told me they're convinced Casemiro's lost his legs and he's dead now. And we know that's not true. But guess what? When he's exposed by himself, he looks garbage. Casemiro losing the ball time after time. There's so many things that are wrong in that guy's game, but then he's not a bad player. The system just wasn't helping him. Now, hopefully, Amrabat's one of those, but I think it's too soon to judge. But I'll wait and say,
No, you're probably right. And I'm looking at Sabitzer. Well, let Sabitzer go. Yeah, he's burning it up in Germany again. Do you know what I mean? He's one of the first names on the team sheet. And I'm thinking, you know, are we making bad decisions about some of these players that we're bringing in and letting go? But
exactly, because we said Sabitzer, hell no, can't stay. Now, some people will be like, bring him back. Like, you know what I mean? Sabitzer went, when he went home.
Do we do that just because of the absence, though, KG, or do we do that because of the quality? Do you feel like? Because we do have this kind of thing where someone doesn't play for a while, and then we suddenly go, once they're back, they're going to be brilliant.
Rashford, we're doing that with Rashford right now. All of a sudden, everyone believes Rashford should be playing on the left. If I asked I don't know what the panel's saying. John, if you're saying that Rashford should start, Cam, do you think Rashford should start? People miss him now. No,
I mean, I'll start right. I'll pick up on that right now. I don't think Rashford should start. I think Manchester United and Erik ten Hag need to keep this standard of seeing performances. You know, a lot of managers say, I stand by my decision when one player is playing absolutely dog poo poo and then they start them because they're like, oh, he performed well in training. At this point in time, it's not about what we're seeing in training. To be quite frank with you, we need to see that shit on the pitch. And if we're not seeing it on the pitch, if the production's not there, then we can't play him. And I love Marcus to bits. I'm telling you right now. But at the end of the day, if he's not performing, Garnacho, look, I got absolutely railed last year for saying that I didn't rate Garnacho as highly as Facundo Pellistri because I said that I prefer younger players who have a lot more efficiency. Look, I already said my bad. I did all that stuff last year. All right. This is what happened in the beginning. This is before he did the bicycle kick. This is before he was turning up. This is before all of that. I'm talking about at the beginning of last season. I said that I rather prefer Pellistri than Garnacho because Garnacho has a lot more of that raw unpredictability. And as a manager trying to create stability in an 11, you can't rely on that raw, unpredictable nature week in, week out. But thankfully for us last season, Garnacho produced, and I put my hands up and said, my bad. And obviously, he's nowhere near, old enough. He ain't got the body or the physique. You saw him going against Mazraoui. You saw him going against Alphonso Davies. You can clearly see the lacking experience, the physical nature. All of it is he's still not ready. But at the end of the day, what Erik ten Hag prefers is the fight. That's why he keeps playing Anthony. Man made 7 out of 9 tackles. He looked like defensive winger. He looked like the Vegas of wingers. It was crazy. My man was on a madness. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's on Erik ten Hag and it's on these players. I just want to touch up on the point real quick. I'm sorry about Sofyan Amrabat. He reminds me a little bit of Daley Blind, and the reason why I say that is because Daley Blind, my group of people, my people on my YouTube channel, we call ourselves the thick leg fam because we used to call Daley Blind thick leg. He's very calm on the ball, but every time when he's on a sprint, he looks like he just got a trunk pair of legs, and he looks like he's unsure. He almost looks like he takes a touch and he's winning back his first touch. You know what I mean? And there is that sense of nervousness that you see from Sofyan Amrabat. And I just feel like you need to take time and let him settle in. But I do see that in Sofyan, and that's why people love Kobbie Mainoo, because he doesn't show that at all. My man's just cool, calm, and collected, and he's like 18 years old. It's insane. I'll just stop right there. That was good enough for me.
I don't know. I mean, I think Daley Blind is far superior to Sofyan Amrabat on the ball. I don't think he can lace his boots, John.
Just like a little bit. I'm not saying.
Let's not rewrite history, because Daley Blind, we didn't appreciate him as well. It's another player. Another player. It wasn't on to better things. Wasn't appreciated. We didn't appreciate Daley Blind. We hated him. Are you blind?
I don't know if we hated him. KJ. I feel like that's rewriting history.
The community they didn't celebrate Daley Blind. They didn't celebrate it. I remember what he was like under Blind, and who's that? Is that the He's what's the manager?
It's Louis van Gaal. It's Louis van Gaal era. That's what it was. It was LVG era, and I think he got associated more with that kind of style that was perceived as, boring. And look, it was lots of 0-0 draws and things like that. But I don't know if anyone ever said he was a bad footballer, because Daley Blind, and also, he's played at centre back for a while as well, wasn't he?
And that's why I gave him the thick leg fam name, because under 1v1 situations, whether he be in a single pivot or in a center back role, when he's getting chased or when he's being pressed in a 1v1 situation, despite him looking very calm on the ball, there are moments where he looked a little bit nervous, and then he'd lose control and he'd slip. I remember I used to be complaining all the time. Why is my man always slipping? That happens when you're thick leg. Y'all don't understand. Me and KG, we understand. Right, KG? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Cam, what is if all of our midfielders are fit, and we're talking about Amrabat, we're talking about McTominay, what is the best midfield, including Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno's coming back from suspension too? If everyone's fit, what is that perfect midfield? Do you think even Ten Hag knows?
I got to go. See you later, boxing.
Yeah.
See you, KG, and cheers for ruining my evening earlier. The best midfield if everyone's fit. Obviously, Kobbie Mainoo's got to be in there. Obviously, I think Bruno's probably got to be in there. But the problem is Amrabat's just not good. His technique's off. I think he can't cover ground particularly well. Honestly, yesterday, every time he passed the ball, it either went out of play or straight to a Liverpool player, or even those times when he had a big area to hit, he somehow completely messed it up and put it in a different area, which is, really embarrassing. And the difference you see with Kobbie Mainoo is that the reason he knows where people are all the time is because his head's constantly on a swivel. That guy takes in so much information all the time. Amrabat, I don't know what he's looking at, but I don't think it's the people around him, because he doesn't seem to have a clue where he is or where his teammates are, really, unfortunately. But the one thing you've got to give him credit for is that he looked okay yesterday because he's a defensive midfield player. I think had it been McTominay in the deeper role, or Fred in previous years, or Eriksen, there would have probably been a few gaps appearing. But I think because Amrabat is naturally a defensive midfield player, and we've not had one in such a long time, obviously apart from Casemiro, who's been injured, that makes a big difference, just having somebody who plays that role. And that's the reality. Is Amrabat is an average player at absolute best, but because he's a player in that position, and this is how important it is and how neglected certain positions are at Manchester United, because we've not had a defensive midfield player, we've not had that base for such a long time. And when we play against more average teams like Chelsea, where there's not as much pressure on us, and we're able to get higher and press the ball a little bit higher up the pitch, Amrabat's more than acceptable. He's a very average player, but in most games, when we play against average teams, he's acceptable. In the top games, in the big games, he's going to let you down because he's just not that good. But this is the thing that United need to get to. If you want to get back to a top-level team, it's getting players who play in those positions regularly, in those positions on the pitch. It's not that complicated. Bruno's number 10. Play him as number 10. Don't play him as an 8 to try and put McTominay in somewhere else. You don't go and play whoever else out of position to accommodate other players. Don't go and play Amrabat at left back if there's any other way that you can avoid it. I think if you're going to play in midfield, it's Amrabat, it's Mainu, it's Bruno. The only reason Scott McTominay played is because he wins his duels, and to be fair, he did a decent job against Liverpool, covered in when he needed to, helped out, put in a shift, but he was awful on the ball, as he always is. The best midfield we've got, any defensive midfield player, probably Amrabat until Casemiro's back, Kobe Mainu and Bruno Fernandes.
Marcel, what do you make of Sofian Amrabat? And would you keep him towards the end of the season, or is it too soon to tell?
Yeah, keep him. I understand what KG was saying in terms of it's too soon to tell. We just got to give him a bit of time. We honestly do just have to give him a bit of time. He's one of Ten Hag's players. And I think, the longer we get into a more comfortable kind of system and form, hopefully he can come and contribute a lot more. Remember, he hasn't had pre-season. And I think he's come in and had 1 or 2 good games. And I think when he has a lot of space in front of him, like the Crystal Palace game, he's able to be effective. It's just that at that Premier League pace, we're getting pressed, like what Cam was saying, at that top level against the top teams that got good pressing systems. He's getting caught out a little bit at the moment. But let's see if he can adapt to the pace and get a bit better. In terms of Rashford, though, just quickly, I think he's got to be second choice striker and second choice left winger. He can't get into the team right now, and I think it's good that he's being kept away from it. Even though I would have liked to see him against Liverpool, maybe up front. And that would have been if we was playing how Ten Hag usually plays. So to be honest with you, going into these next 2 games against West Ham and Aston Villa, I'm really interested to see what type of Ten Hag comes to these kind of fixtures. Is he going to continually be pragmatic? Because at the end of the day, Owen, it's 2 games in 6 days. It's that Christmas period. Fatigue's going to settle in. Are we going to be playing, turnovers, high pressing football, trying to be as heavy metal with build up? Or is he going to be very pragmatic, protect the goal and look for his counter-attack chances, a quick switch, 1 or 2 passes, get players, get the forward line in between all that space that, because we've been inviting them on us. And that'll be really interesting. Anana spoke really well about us having to be pragmatic and it being difficult and having to get through bad times, but us still haven't been able to perform and believe in the performance and the manager. So I'm confident that we can still maybe get, I'm with Kenny in the sense of it could be 2 draws, but you never know. Against maybe, at home against Villa, we could pick up 3 points. I think I'm more confident for 3 points against West Ham, but it depends again. Does Ten Hag go with his normal principles and structure and go gun-ho or find a way to win? Or does he sit back, soak up the pressure and look for Garnacho in spaces, look for Anthony in spaces?
Super chat here from Santiago says, Varan is that Sunday convertible you drive on a sunny stroll. Without him, we are relying on grandma's beta car. We need a new car for everyday use. That's a heck of an analogy there. And Ronnie says, my midfield would be Maino, Mount, and Bruno. Just very quickly. Yeah, exactly. Just very quickly before we wrap things up, I don't think there's another full view before the Villa game, I don't think. So next 2 games, we always end on predictions here on full view, and they always come back to bite us. But next 2 games, West Ham away, Aston Villa at home. What are we thinking in terms of wins, losses, points won? Marcel, I'll start with you.
Win and a draw. Win and a draw, 4 points. Christmas season. Happy New Year, happy Christmas. 4 points.
John, what's your predictions?
I'm pulling a Marcel. I'm going win and a win.
Win and a win. Oof.
Yes, sir.
I tell you what would be a Merry Christmas. Yeah. Kenny, you've already said 2 draws. You sticking with that, or have the 2 positive people beneath you changed your mind?
I'll stick with 2 draws, but I'd hope for a win and a draw, because then we go into a 2-week break. So we can not risk players, but he knows that he doesn't need to rest anyone because we've got a 2-week break then. So you could see other players coming back as well.
And Cam, what do you say?
I'll go with 2 wins, I think the Villa one being at home, I think that there's always a chance at Old Trafford. I think we beat West Ham away, to be honest. I think the lessons, it's an easy sell for Ten Hag to the players, isn't it? If we lose the ball, we're having a difficult period, get everyone behind the ball, you've kept a clean sheet against Liverpool, you're going to be able to do it against West Ham for 15, 20 minutes, most likely. So I think that should help the performance, that we'll be a bit more solid in the moments we need to, manage the game a bit better away from home, and hopefully have the quality to score on the break. Maybe even Rashford coming on late and getting the winner. I could see that happening. And then the Villa game, they're in great form. But honestly, I'd do the same thing as we did against Liverpool. I'd park the bus against them at Old Trafford because they won't be able to break it down at all. And it's negative. Yes, of course it is. But if it gets results, why not?
I'm going to go
thing
with...
as well. So sorry.
Go on, Kenny.
The other thing as well, we haven't beaten a team that's above us this year, and both them teams are above us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with a loss and a win. I think that, unfortunately, if we play like we played against Liverpool, I do think it can't be overlooked how bad Liverpool were yesterday. And I do think, like, if Liverpool were just, like, 10% better, they probably would have scored against us, let's be honest. If they weren't taking stupid shots from 25 yards out every time they had an attack, I think they would have probably scored. And I watched West Ham play against Wolves, and I know Wolves had a man sent off. They were unlucky with VAR and all that kind of stuff. But West Ham are in good form at the moment, and sometimes just going to the London Stadium. Yeah. So I'm going to go with West Ham might turn us over there. But I do think on Boxing Day, I don't know. There's just something about me thinking that Villa. I know Villa are like second in the league. I know you're going to say Gavin all that kind of stuff, but I don't know.
Isn't there some sort of ridiculous stat that comes out every Boxing Day where we haven't lost a Boxing Day game?
That's what I mean. And also as well, like, I think Villa are in that weird stage at the moment, aren't they, where everyone's sort of waiting for them to drop off a little bit. And if they're going to drop off, it's probably going to be in those away games. I mean, they beat Brentford away from home, but I think recently they drew with Bournemouth away from home as well. So that would be the game. But then again, look, at home this season, we've not been amazing. Our last home game, we lost last two home games in both competitions, right? So, but I'm going to go with a win and a loss. And you can let us know in the comment section below and in the live chat what your predictions are. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. A reminder, we're going to be back tomorrow live 9 a.m. as per usual. Flex and myself for the morning view. Big up to Cam, Kenny, John, and Marcel, and the recently departed KG. He's doing the boxing. Go sure to check him out as well. And we'll be back very soon. We're out of here. Have a good evening. Peace.